Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of In the Kitchen with Zesty Chef Z. I am your host, Zesty Chef Z. That's right, Zesty Chef Z, we're making pretzels. All right, so pretzels 101. Okay, so I have my proper mise en place. Now I have some other ingredients here that I'll talk to you guys about in a little bit. But right now I got my 8 cups of water that we're gonna be blanching our pretzels in. I'm just gonna stick that on the stove right here. I'm also gonna take my baking soda right here. I'm just gonna put that in there just to get that in there and start dissolving a little bit. Okay. Now what I have here is my warm water. Now it should feel warm to the touch, okay? If you feel your forehead, that's about how hot your water should be. Okay, if it's too cold, it's not gonna activate the yeast. If it's too hot, you're gonna kill the yeast. Okay, and we don't wanna kill the yeast. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our warmed water, okay? Now I usually like my water roughly about 98 to 100 degrees, which works out good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my activated yeast. I'm just gonna sprinkle this in here. Okay, just sprinkle it all over. Okay. And now we're gonna let that sit for about 5-10 minutes or until it starts to bubble. But what's great, I'm gonna add a little bit of food for them too. They love sugar. So we're just gonna add a little bit of sugar in there. Okay. Add that in there. Okay. And we're gonna take our whisk. We're just gonna whisk that just so we get a nice even stir on there. Get all those yeast that's up on the edges. Get that in there. Okay. We're gonna let that sit in a nice warm place for about 5 to 10 minutes and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. All right, if you take a look at our yeast mixture, it's nice and frothy. Okay, we got lots of good bubbles in there and so forth, so it's looking really good. So we are all set to proceed with our next step. Okay, so our next step is we're actually going to just take a 1/3 cup of flour. We're just going to, now I'm not going to strictly measure that because we're going to use the majority of this flour, so I'm just going to kind of shake it, and that should be good enough. We're just going to sprinkle that in there. Okay, and we're just going to take my whisk, and we're just going to whisk that in there. And then what that's doing is helping us feed the yeast a little bit more too, because it's possibly it's already ate all that sugar that's in there. So we want to make sure it's nice and fed very well. Okay. Now this is a good bacteria that's in here. This is what makes all bread taste really good, is that gluten and the stuff that's from the bread itself. So the bacteria, what that does is it grows and it produces carbon dioxide. And when we bake it, it releases the carbon dioxide and gives us all that gluten, is all those threads in there. Then where all the little bubbles are, that's where the CO2 was. Okay, so after we add that 1/3 cup, we're just gonna mix that till smooth, okay? Then we're gonna pretty much add almost like the remaining flour. We're gonna keep a little bit out just to dust our table with, because we're gonna absorb that as well. So it's just about like that, just enough to work that in, okay? We also have some melted butter. We're going to add that in. Now we're also going to now add our salt. Okay, so we're just going to sprinkle that in. Now if I added the salt with the yeast and the sugar and so forth, that would actually kill the yeast also. So as long as the yeast is active, we can go ahead and start doing that. And I'm going to start this off with just the whisk right here, just to quickly do this. Then when it starts coming together a little bit more, then I'll switch to my hands. Okay, so we're just going to bring that around. Okay, working that flour so it's getting a little bit thick, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that off the whisk. Just like so. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my hand a little dusty with flour. Okay, just like so. I'm going to slowly start bringing that stuff together. Now, if you do have a KitchenAid mixer or that, you can use that. But sometimes even just working with basic dough, I like working with my hands a lot because I like to feel the dough. Okay. So we're just going to work on that. Now, it should be a little tacky, so we're doing okay there. Okay, just enough till it comes together. Okay, so we got a good amount of thing there. Now we're going to need that little bit of flour that we had left over, so we're just going to scrape the sides down a little bit. Now whenever you dust your counter and stuff, you just want to take a pinch of flour and you want to kind of spread it, just like so. Okay, just enough to coat the workbench. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take this. Take that off of there. And we're going to scrape that. Okay, we're gonna add that little bit leftover dough, or the flour, sorry. We're just gonna spread that out. Now what we want to do is form a dough. And we're just gonna kind of mix this together as we're going along. And if your fingers get like this, make sure you just add a little bit more flour to it. Get your fingers off of there. Because that is not zesty, right? A little doughy. Add that little bit more flour. Okay, now the dough should be smooth. Okay, let me get my other hand in here. Get that off my fingers. Okay, coat that a little bit. And what we want to do is start kneading. Okay, so what we're going to do is just kind of pull it, stretch it, and knead it. Make sure we get all that flour. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more flour to this because those are a little tacky, so I'm just going to dust my fingers again. Okay, make sure I have a coating on there, and we're going to add a little bit more flour. Okay, because it is a little tacky. So we're going to take that and just coat that. Okay. Now when we knead and stuff, we want to make sure we create lots of gluten. So we're going to pull and fold, pull and fold. Then when that gets full, we're just going to switch it over. Okay, and if it gets to the point where it's, you can smush it down a little bit, pull and fold. Now the dough should be elasticy and smooth. Okay, now if it's a little bit harder to pull it, you can just use your palms. Okay, fold it, use your palms. Okay, and we're just going to do that for about 5 minutes or so until it's nice, smooth, and elasticy. Okay, but basically it needs to be smooth. Okay, now if you have a little bit of all-purpose flour or something like that, just keep a little pinch off to the side. And again, I can pull like this, okay, but it's getting to the point where it's starting to develop a little bit more gluten, so we're going to be using that. It's getting a little tacky, so I'm just going to add a little bit more flour. And again, add a little bit at a time, don't add a lot. If you have this whole counter full of flour, that's a lot of flour, and that's just going to be very wasteful. So we just want to keep kneading, okay, and again, we're going to be doing that for about 5 minutes, okay. And to me, this is kind of therapeutic, where you just kind of just do this. It's actually really, really cool. It builds your shoulder muscles as well. But it's really cool to actually knead dough. I think if I wasn't a chef, I'd probably actually be a baker. Because to me, making dough, you know, just by hand is just amazing stuff. All right. So after I knead this for a little bit, I'll be back. Okay, I'll be right back. Hi, welcome, we're back. We're doing our pretzel dough. Now this is nice, smooth, and elasticy. If you want to take a look, it's actually really nice. Very smooth, very elasticy. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to shape this into a ball now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a corner, we're going to pull and fold. Now as you can see, that kind of created another edge, so we're just going to take that, pull that. Okay, and do the same thing with this side, this side, this side. We're going to go all the way around. Okay, we got one more right over here. Okay, we're going to turn it around. It gives us a nice ball. I'm just going to take my hand, just kind of give it a little spin in there, and we got a nice shape. Okay, now what we want to do is put that in a slightly oiled pan. Okay, with that, or a bowl. We're going to cover that with a towel. And we're going to stick it someplace warm until it doubles in size. We'll be right back. All right, hello, and we are back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we got our dough right out of the proofer box. Okay. So right now it is doubled in size, and it looks really good. Now I use saran wrap, so if you do have saran wrap, you can do saran wrap, or you just do a towel, that's fine too. Okay. All right. So my dough's looking pretty good, so I'm just going to take a little bit of flour again and just kind of dredge my fingers a little bit. Okay. Just to kind of get off of there. Okay. So basically it's just kind of like punching down a little bit. Okay. I'm wanting to push the dough down. Okay. So what I want to do is just kind of cut it into 4 squares. It can be equal. You can use your French knife on the cutting board. Okay. I'm just going to use this butter knife right here, just to kind of use the blunt end of it, just to kind of cut it into 4s so I can see it. Okay. So you want 4 equal pieces. Okay. Boy, they look so nice. They're very elasticy, very nice looking. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just going to set these guys off to the side over here. I'm going to bring this guy here. Now what I want to do is roll him out a little bit, and I'm going to show you why. Because you know we're making pretzels, and pretzels are kind of roundish. But what I'm going to do is just take just the glass I have. It could be anything. It can be plastic. It can be glass, but just be careful of the glass. So I'm just going to dust it a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of roll it out just a little bit. Okay, and I'm not pushing hard. Okay, just like that. That's it. Okay, now what I want to do is fold it like so, and I'm just going to take my palm and just kind of push that into there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this side. Okay, and just kind of palm that a little bit. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take that and then I'm going to start rolling it. Okay. Now when you roll pretzels, I'm just going to be using my fingers. Okay. And when I'm doing my fingers, I'm just going to kind of roll it and then kind of move my fingers out while I'm rolling. So I'm going to start off like this and slowly expand them. Okay. And I want this to be about 15 inches long. So if you have a ruler, take a look and measure it out. It's about 15 inches. Okay. So we're looking pretty good. So now to make a pretzel, we're just going to loop it. Okay, we're going to crisscross it and make a pretzel shape. Okay. Now, if you want to be fancy, you could actually do this and you can twist it around twice. Okay. Give it a nice little twist in the middle. Okay. Now what I want to do is just kind of push on that just so we secure that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take this pretzel and we're going to put it on this metal spatula. Okay, we're just going to pick that up, just plop it right on there, and then we're going to carry it over to our water. Okay, whoops. Okay, so we're going to take that. Now we got our boiling water right over here. Now we're going to turn the heat down just because it's at a rolling boil. We just want a nice little boil, just like so. Okay. Now we're just going to carefully tuck that in, put that in there, just kind of shake it off. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to let it simmer in there for about 30 seconds. Okay. Now it should float to the top. And when it does that, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and do it for another 30 seconds. Okay. Now the dough is going to be still kind of sticky when it comes out. Okay. And then we're going to put it on a sheet tray with parchment paper on it. Okay. So make sure you roll out all your pretzels. Okay. And then also, you're going to do this one at a time, so that way you're not overcrowding the pan, and you can control it a little bit more. All right, so. All right, hello. Now I did one on a slotted spoon as well, and I used that spatula there too. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and plop that guy in there, and just kind of shake him off. It'll come right off. Okay, so that guy's been in there for just a bit. He's got a little bit more to go. Okay. Now again, try to see if you can find one that has holes in it. If not, I mean, this works really well because you can just scoop them up and he takes the holes right out of there. Okay. And if you don't have that, You can use a spatula. Okay. You just kind of scoop them up in there. Okay. You just kind of drain the water off. Tilt it so the water drains off. Just like so. Okay. Now we're going to take our pretzel. We're going to make sure you blot them off a little bit, and you're just going to stick them right on your parchment paper. Okay, just like so. Okay. So this guy's been in there for a couple, so we're just going to flip him over. And just pick him up and just flip him. Okay. Make sure he gets coated. Okay, so again, we're just the water is at a gentle simmer. Okay, we're not really boiling. Okay. So we're just going to let them cook there for a minute. Okay. And before I started this, I turned the oven on. The oven is at 425. Now again, every oven's different, so you might have to go down to 400 or even 375. It just really depends on how hot your oven is cooking. Okay, so I'm going to flip him back over right side and go ahead and get him out of there. Okay, just kind of bang it down a little bit. Okay, just like so. And we're going to bring him over. Okay, perfect, right? Okay, so now once we do this, we're going to get an egg wash. Okay, and over here I have 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of water. And I'm just going to pop that and mix that up. Okay, just like so, just so it's well blended. Okay, just like so. Okay, we're going to take that. Now, if you don't have a brush or a basting brush or something like that, you can easily use your finger. Okay, so we're going to come over here. Just going to dip that in there. And we're just going to brush that with our egg wash. Now you don't want to go too heavy, just enough to coat it. Okay, it's like over here you don't want any globs of egg. I went a little heavy overboard on that one. Okay, kind of shake that off and just kind of do a nice little coat. Whoops. Now when these come out of the oven, you can either, I've had soft pretzels dipped in chocolate, which is really good. You stick a stick on there and you dip that in chocolate. But this one we're just going to dip a little bit of kosher salt. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take that, we're going to sprinkle this with some salt. Now they do have pretzel salt, which is a lot coarser grind, but we're just going to put a little kosher on it. Okay. Now also, if you wanted to, after, if you baked them plain, what you can do is brush them with a little bit of butter and then dip them in some cinnamon and sugar. And that tastes really good also. So all right, we got our oven nice and heated. Again, we're going to crack the combi open. We're going to let it breathe, let all that steam escape from there. Okay, we're going to open up. Okay, and we're going to throw our pretzels in. And just like so, we're going to bake them till they're a nice golden brown. Okay, so I'm going to sit here and babysit those for a minute, and I'll be right back. Boy, those are going to look good. Okay, we are back, and they're about ready to come out of the oven. Look at those beauties. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven off, and I'm going to crack the combi open. Okay, let that guy breathe for a minute before I open it up all the way. Okay, because we don't want to get burned. Okay. All right, ooh, they look good. I'm going to grab my pot holder. Now, if you take a look, I actually put a stainless steel knife on the parchment paper. The parchment paper was flopping up all over the place. Now, this is a combi oven. Remember that combi oven has a fan in there to help circulate the air. So you shouldn't have any problems with your ovens, but just in case you want to know what that knife was for. Okay, so we're going to pull that out. Boy, those look good. Okay, we're just going to set them down. Okay. Now, I have my display station right over here. So basically I just took a nice tray, okay, I clouded up the tablecloth that I had, made sure that there's no seams that's visible, okay, and I got a nice tray there. Okay, my pretzels came out really good. I like them. They look good. Okay. So, again, you can dip this in chocolate sauce. You can brush them with butter and dip them in cinnamon sugar. You can serve it with mustard. You can serve it with nacho cheese or regular cheese. Even this would go really good with that dill pickle soup, now wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Okay, so let's go ahead and get those suckers off of there. Okay, ready to eat. Okay, so you don't want to touch them with your hands. Okay, so I'm just going to use a spatula. Just like so. So there we go. Muffins. Okay, or not muffins. Wow, it's been a long day. All right, so we have some nice soft pretzels. Again, serve it with some mustard. Dip it in some chocolate. Dip it in some nacho cheese. Okay, so basically I'm just gonna give a little taste here. Rip that guy apart. Mmm. That is really good. Wow. All right, guys and gals, stay zesty to each other and cook some good food. All right, be zesty, everybody.